So, Namaskar, sir, Professor Dixit, sir. Dear participants, today we are having great orator, Professor Manoj Dixit, sir, with us. It is a privilege to introduce him to all of you, although he needs no introduction, but the formality I will fulfill. Sir is presently head Department of Public Administration in University of Lucknow. Earlier, he was adjunct professor at the School of Political Science and Public Administration in the University of Science and Technology of China during 2011 to 2014. And earlier to that, he was associate professor in public administration at the Addis Ababa University, Ethiopia, during 2005-2006. His fields of specializations are administrative theory, public policy, and tourism management. He has presented and published more than 50 papers, acted as chairperson and discussant in many significant international conferences organized in different countries. He was honorary director of Tourism Studies Institute of Lucknow University and Kanshi Ram Tourism Management Institute of Uttar Pradesh. Professor Dixit has authored more than 10 books. He has prepared world's largest dictionary on tourism. Around 850 tourism guides were prepared under his leadership at Lucknow University. Professor Dixit has supervised more than 40 PhD scholars. He has completed many major research projects and he is coordinated UGC SAP DRS Stage 2 in public administration at Lucknow University. Professor Dixit sir has proved himself to be a highly acclaimed academic administrator as the Vice Chancellor of Dr. Ram Manohar Lohia Avadh University, Ayodhya. Today he is going to talk on good governance and higher education with us. So participants, please focus on the presentation sir is going to make and put up your question. We hardly get chance to interact with a person of his status. So be ready to ask question to Professor Dixit sir. Sir, now time is yours, sir. You may take up.
How much time do we have?
Sir, up to 3 p.m. sir.
Okay, thank you.
So nearly 1.5 hours, sir.
Thank you, Professor Bhartendu. It's a pleasure and privilege to be associated with HRDC, Mizoram University, Aizawl. I have some connection with the Aizawl, so it's always a pleasure to be associated. Today's topic, as we all know, is centered around what we call as quality of higher education, which is called good governance and higher education. We all know that higher education system in India is one of the most exciting sectors that we have. Globally, you can say that it is one of the most emergent sectors around the world. And India is one nation where it is considered to be one of the biggest generating destinations for the world education. Indian students, crisscross almost the entire globe for the purpose of higher education, and they are found almost everywhere. And every country wants Indian students to, come and study there. I will make a small presentation, after which we are all, we will engage ourselves in interaction, whatever way you want it to be. I will be available till you want to discuss your questions, and we want to complete this job. India's higher education sector is big. It is emerging, it is large, and it is considered to be one of the biggest around the world. If we see this, when it comes to technical education or education for the purpose of management, our institutions are rated among the best in the world. They have already marked their reputation among the top notch of higher education institutions of the world. The IIMs and the IITs, the IISc, and several such institutions are known globally for their quality of education. We have restarted talking about education, higher education per se from 2020, when National Education Policy 2020 was released, accepted by the Government of India as the game-changing policy for the coming, say, around 25 years or so. 2047 is the year of our destination, on what we plan to say that at the end of this Amrit Kal, India's higher education system, it will not only be the biggest in the world, but also should be among the best in the world, and for which we have given to ourselves the National Education Policy 2020, and we wish to develop our educational systems which are typically caught in kind of a crossfire, and which are not, I have no hesitation in saying that they are not serving the purpose for which they were created. 190 years of government-controlled education system in India has actually not only weakened the whole system of education in India, but it's also broken the backbone of the whole system. And from making the man, or from the man-making institutional mechanism, we have now gone into what we call as employment-generating institutions, and that is a huge change of direction which has undergone, and it has actually speeded up in last 20-25 years, when employment is probably the sole purpose of education, and which is not the Indian way of education system, or not the global best practices either. So institutional restructuring and consolidation in higher education is something that we need to talk about. I'm not going to discuss too much of NEP by way of our presentation. We will discuss something because I expect that in 2 years' time, NEP has been understood by many of us, and most of us are implementing it, particularly central universities. So we have to think in terms of universalization, the access of knowledge education and skill building in the state. Now, these two terms have been, they are the core of national education policy: knowledge education and skill building. This has both the traditional root as well as the Indian root of education system. We developed ourselves to become one of the best educational systems in the world on the basis of creating knowledge, and divided the society on the basis of the skill, or we call it the functional specializations. And that is something that helped us become what we became in the longer run in the part of history. I would always suggest my participants, friends, to read Angus Madison's World Economic History from the year 0 to year 2010. In this 2000 long year economic history of the world by Young Madison, you find that for long.
Sorry to disturb, sir. Sir, your slides are not moving.
Acha, jam ho gayi hai?
Yes, sir. Only first one we are seeing, the title one.
That should have happened. Anyway, this happens sometimes. Is it moving now?
It's yes, sir. It's not full screen, but it's moving.
No, screen visible?
It's not going full screen, sir. That sidebar is still visible.
It is not visible to me, at least now.
So sometime it happens in your system, it is showing like that, and we are seeing without full screen.
Is this slide visible now?
It is visible, but not full screen, sir. It is not in presentation mode.
I think मेरे स्क्रीन पे तो पूरी एक ही आ रही है, लेकिन
ओके सर, लेकिन हमारे पास सर साइड वाला लेफ्ट साइड में बाहर आ रहा है वो सेलेक्टर.
एक सेकंड मुझे और दीजिए.
ओके, श्योर सर, श्योर.
एक सेकंड मुझे दीजिए. Let me see why it is happening.
सर एक बार वो पावर पॉइंट को बंद करके फिर से चालू करने से शायद ठीक हो जाएगा.
हाँ, वही देखता हूँ.
अच्छा अच्छा.
The pangs of technology is always there. Is it coming now?
It is same, sir. No change. So better without full screen. You may continue, sir.
I think so. I will send you, all of you, a copy of the presentation later. That will
Sir,
probably...
for movement of this slide, I think, sir, you have to click on the sidebars now. Okay, sir. Still first slide we are seeing, sir. Just see whether moving or not.
Still not moving?
No, sir. First slide only, governance.
My God. Where is the problem then?
So उसको बिना full screen किए ही आप रन कर लीजिए, सर.
अभी आप कुछ दिख रहा है? आपकी स्क्रीन पे कुछ चल रहा है?
हाँ सर, आपका कंप्यूटर का स्क्रीन आ रहा है सर. क्विक एक्सेस, रिसेंट फाइल्स.
मैं तो I'm already there on anyway, let me make my presentation. We'll continue to have discussion on that. अगर आ जाता है तो ठीक है।
या सर आप अगर हमें भेजते तो हम यहाँ से डिस्प्ले कर सकते हैं
हाँ, मैं आपको
व्हाट्सएप पे।
आपका व्हाट्सएप नंबर दीजिएगा मुझे,
हाँ हाँ सर, हम आपको मैसेज कर देते हैं।
मैं आपको उसी पे तुरंत भेज दे रहा हूँ। दैट विल बी बेटर। Some issue that is not.
मैसेज भेज दिया सर मैंने।
Yeah. मेरा वो
Recording in progress.
प्रोसेसिंग मैंने भेज
हाँ
दिया
सर,
है,
हाँ सर, हाँ सर, हमें पास आ गया, बस उसको open करना है।
तो आप उसको ही प्रेजेंट कर लीजिए, मैं अपना काम यहाँ से स्टार्ट करता हूँ। So the second task which we always bother about is that how are the higher education institutions going to grow into multidisciplinary universities. This is important because the universities at present that we have are in different natures. You know, if we look at the figure in the next slide, if you see the figures, we have about 54 central universities, 443 state universities, 126 deemed to be universities, and 403 private universities. So in all that, this is as on 31st of March 2021. So we have about 1026 universities of different types in the country. And most of these universities, excluding private universities, have affiliating colleges where undergraduate and postgraduate courses are being taught, and PhD courses are also conducting on university campus level, and in many situations college level as well. Private universities are providing graduation, post-graduation, and research education in their own campus. This is the scenario that we right now seem to have in India. Now, I have given you these figures to showcase you the real heterogeneity of the higher education system in India. This heterogeneity, requires a lot of leveling up before we can think in terms of growing, letting all higher education institutions grow into what we call as the multidisciplinary universities. Then we also have what we call as autonomous degree granting colleges. Some of them are there, and NEP visualizes that in about 10 years from now, all colleges will be degree granting autonomous colleges. So the number of colleges that will be granting degrees is likely to shoot to about 40,000 to 50,000 colleges. This is an enormous situation that probably we are going to face in next few years. The question that we need to ask here, are we ready for this? Are we ready for change? Are we in a position to manage this all into what we call as good governance model? Are we able to maintain quality and quantity at the same time? Basic quality, we need to understand basic curriculum that we need to create and appreciate that this same curriculum can be taught around the country at pan-India level. What will be the impact? What will be the utilization? What will be the scenario once we are able to create this situation or understand this magnitude, the magnitude of this issue? I will not call it problem, but issue as a magnitude, and this magnitude needs to be understood in real terms in order to understand what is going to be the scenario in about 25 years from now. Next slide, if you see, next slide is very important slide from the NEP's point of view. See this, it is expecting us to do a lot more than what we are doing right now. Now you see, it is trying to make a holistic education system in the entire process of implementation of this. This includes a lot many things. This includes optimal learning environments and support for students. It is not hidden from all of us. I think you are all from different parts of the nation. That the kind of learning environment and support for student, that systems that we have, they need a lot to be desired, particularly at the state level and below. Then NEP expects motivated, energized, and capable faculty. I think these three terms hit you most. The moment you hear them all, you realize that how motivated we are, how energized we are, and how capable our faculty is something that we all know. But this doesn't need any satisfaction, and this doesn't need any certification from anybody. We need to create the core of the higher education lies on the shoulders of motivated, energized, and capable faculty members. And these systems, as being education being a concurrent subject between states and the union, we states have a more role to play in this. 90% plus education, higher education, is in the purview of state, and the states have to think in terms of motivated, energized, and capable faculty who are able to implement and cause learning, optimal level learning among, and of course create a support system for students. The NEP also talks about teacher education. Teacher education, the courses that you know, that also needs to be thoroughly revised. This, you know that the NCT has stopped giving any more affiliations at the moment, because they are in the process of revising the teacher education system between 3 years and 4 years and 5 years, and then they expect that these teachers will be motivated, energized, and capable to take up the higher education systems to a new height, a newer height, to make India Vishwaguru in next 25 odd years. Vocational education is something which has made a re-entry, I would say, in the mainstream of higher education. Vocational education in real terms is something which is key to the success of Indian education system. Ability to do rather than ability to understand and comprehend is something that is the focus of NEP, and making people do require a lot of vocational education patterns and paradigms to be created and shifted from what we have at the moment. The professional education, we call it professional education, management, engineering, technology, pharmacy, medical, and all these professional education systems, they need to be, refocused, revised, re-understood, reinterpret, and energized to make a sense of being professional. There is a lot of debate going on at the Government of India level also, which courses to call as professional courses and which courses should not be called as professional courses. Is profession only limited to getting a salary? Promoting high quality research is something which is again at the core of NEP. India has actually slid behind a lot of huge slide India has taken in case of the research outputs or research education. Our quality of research has really gone down, particularly in the non-science and technology areas. And this is something which is worrying us. And a lot of efforts are being made, including the creation of what we call as the National Research Fund and all, to appreciate the point that unless you are able to do fundamental researches in every subject of knowledge, you are not going to make a place in the whole scheme of things at the global level, let alone being called the Vishwaguru. You were called Vishwaguru because you understood the fundamentals of every subject that you talked about. But right now, we are lacking in this. Our presence in the research scenario of the world is very, very minimal. And particularly when it comes to India, it is even lesser than what we have if we call Indians around the world. So this is something which we need to ponder over. Each of us, each teacher of us need to ponder over whether we are able to doing a research which will make any sense to the people, or which will change, which will be able to change the lives of the people at any stage. Prototype researches, copy, paste, and all that, is something that is going on. I have no hesitation in saying that, but that is not going to serve the purpose of education in India. Then we have the effective governance and leadership issues take up. We will take it up further during the course of this presentation. We also have to think in terms of creating regulatory systems. I will also take up this regulatory system point a bit later also. But at the moment, you have a multiplicity of regulatory mechanisms in higher education. Almost every vertical of higher education is having its own kind of a regulatory system. So the question of shifting from here to there or obtaining your credits from other branches of knowledge is something which is not going on at the moment, and that we need to work upon. We also need to talk in terms of, this is our area, our forte, which is now gone, which has taken a back seat, I would say, is the promotion of Indian languages, arts, and culture. These are the areas where you were the boss of the world. You were the boss of the world because you had command over a scientific language. You were boss of the world because you understood art from the heart of it. And your culture is something that still needs a lot of studies and a lot of interpretation and lots of insights for the entire world to understand the Indian culture. But we, from particularly 1986 onwards, when we started focusing only on professional education or education for employment, these areas took a back seat, and they have really hit us hard. NEP talks about promoting Indian languages, education in mother tongue. This is something that they have talked about. They have also started working on it. AICT is working on it. UGC is working on it. And my request or I would appeal to all my fellow colleagues to start writing good quality original books in their own language. This is something which is the strength of India rather than the weakness. Let us just give up this lethargy of saying that if we don't understand English, how will we be a global citizen? Global citizens don't need our language. Global citizens need to appreciate every language. One small point of I would like to make it here only. You compare 10 best highest GDP countries with 10 lowest GDP countries, and you will realize the highest GDP countries are not English speaking countries only. In fact, there are only 2 among 10. 8 of them are non-English speaking countries. So the English has nothing to do with development. In fact, the 10 lowest GDP countries, they all have their education system in only in English. That they contribute very little in the quality of education. So understand that you have to think in your own language, you have to write in your own language, you have to contribute in your language, and the research has its own language. People understand, you know that the French have their own systems, which is very globally potential system. Even the German system, the Korean system, the Chinese system, the Japanese system, the Belgian system, they all are very important systems of the world, and they are all teaching in their own languages. And that is the strength. So you understand also that the globe or the world understands the importance of studying their own language in the language and studying arts and culture. Many people tell me that what is there in culture? Well, this is the typical global mindset, what is there in culture, because the globe doesn't have it. You ask those countries which have cultural background and they have a cultural history, they will understand and appreciate, tell you that what is there in culture. And India will have to rethink its strategy to understand, not only understand culture, but also explore more and more culture and of course export it wherever we can. In this particular scheme of NEP, even technology is now being given a very central space. It is only a coincidence that the COVID and NEP came together, both in 2020. So probably they have understood it better, and we also now understand better that technology can play a very important role in integrating the country by way of spreading the right kind of a technology around the world. Even the medium on which we are right now speaking and we are discussing right now is also very important. 2020, before 2020, we never thought that there would be a global countrywide classrooms kind of a situation coming, where people from all walks of life and all parts of country will come and join a classroom kind of a situation. It is possible now. It is possible, but we have nothing to be happy about. We have to consolidate, improve, and make it virtually a classroom kind of a situation, where integration of 5G technology, which is coming up in next few months, we will be able to create countrywide classrooms, and maybe more on 3D and 4D and 5D and 6Ds. Participation is possible where we can be virtually together. So that is a use of technology that NEPs also talks about, and that we all, the teachers, need to be appreciating that, following it, and also trying and assimilating it as the systems that is going to be hit us in future. Let us be prepared rather than being shocked. And final point that I would like to mention it here is that we accordingly, when we need all this, accordingly we need institutional restructuring and consolidation. A good body keeps a good heart. So we need to have a good heart, and therefore we need to have a good body of good restructuring of institutions to understand and appreciate the multiculturality, to understand and appreciate multidisciplinarity in the mechanism, and appreciate the point that no one particular branch of knowledge is complete in itself. Every knowledge needs to be related to the other factors of life. Thus, if sociology and public administration need to understand technology, the technology also needs to understand the parts and parcels of society and the culture. Technology also needs to understand that on whom this technology is going to be practiced, and their mindset is very important. So all this is going to happen in the next few years. We are in the very important area of our existence, where things are changing and changing very fast. We have a right-minded government which wants change to take place, and we have environment of having a lot many more institutions available in the country than what we had some years back. So we have an opportunity knocking our door, where holistic multidisciplinary approach in higher education can be taken up, established, and given to the people and the students as early as possible, as easily as possible, and as naturally as possible. So this is what is going to happen now in future. In next slide, let us discuss the issue that for which I started this presentation: governance in higher education. Now, governance, we may call it good governance. I call it only governance because in higher education, governance has to be good. The governance is a very important aspect of administration or management of higher education, and both public, private, and other university systems or higher education systems. In fact, it is the quality of governance that decides or that determines the credibility and accountability of private universities and public universities. I'm sorry, I'm using word private universities more than that, but both private and public universities, the functioning of any institution is determined by the quality of governance. What we promise, if we deliver, it is a good governance. What we promise, if we don't govern it, it is malgovernance. So it is the governance means the way of administration in any organization. Further, we may include the process of decision making. You know, every moment is a decision. How you take a decision is the way you run the system. Decision is, in fact, what? In English also we have some, Sandhi Vichhed. It is a decision. When we say D is to, scission is means cutting. So art of or science of reducing the possibilities to take one set of possibilities, a decision. So whether we want that decision or another decision, we have to decide in the sense of having multiple options and settle for one. Type of institution, the quality of institution, the functioning of institution will decide as to whether you want to go this way or the other way. We cannot compare unnecessarily to say that, okay, IIM Bombay is, IIM Ahmedabad is like Lucknow. No, they are not. They are two different set of institutions sharing the common name maybe, but they have to have a separate kind of model of working or model of taking decisions. Governance can also be discussed in other contexts, like whether it is a global governance, national governance, local governments, corporate level governance, whatever way we decide, we have to settle for one. Harvard University is a global university, but Lucknow University or maybe a Kanpur University are not global universities. So these are state-specific regional universities which cater to a particular kind of a clientele. So we have to settle your context and then develop, evolve, create accordingly. And all the actors who can play a role in governance are like whether financial institutions, government, accreditation agencies, quality control agencies, non-government organizations, they all have to be, pooled into one before they start making impact on the governance systems of institutions. If they remain separate and serving their own narrow purposes, there will be no total governance systems in higher education. So this is also something where things have been worked out right now. There are a lot of discussions going on at the Government of India level, how to consolidate the system of all these players into one system. And unless this is one system, then there will be a lot of problems that will come on our way to implement this NEP 2020. Next slide. So you have, I'm just for the sake of repeating it, giving you an idea of further distributing them into different types of institutions. As per AISHA data of 2021, there are 1,043 universities, 42,343 colleges, and 11,779 standalone institutions in India. See the enormity of the situation and the types. Further, 307 universities are affiliating, means they have a lot of colleges to work with. 396 universities are privately managed. They now been brought under one umbrella loop, kind of a loop by different states. This process is on. 420 universities are located in rural areas. That's naturally they are not global in their approach. 17 universities are exclusively for women. These have a lot of role to play for women education in India. In addition to one central open university, 14 state open universities, and one state private open university, there are 110 dual mode universities which offer education through distance as well as conventional mode. and the maximum 13 when 13 of these dual mode are in Tamil Nadu. There are 522 general universities, 177 technical universities, 63 agriculture universities, 66 medical universities, 22 law universities, 12 Sanskrit universities, and 11 language universities, and rest 145 of them are belonging to different other categories. That includes Innovation University, Petroleum University, Children University, Women University, Forensic University, and so on and so forth. So you have governance of universities has to be as plural as there are types. That's a problem. The problem at hand is that you cannot have one system of governance for this plurality of kind of institutions that we have unless we reduce this plurality. The types of governance for each of them will be separate from the other one. Next slide, please. So then I've also tried to evolve into this extrinsic and intrinsic governance. They are both these are very important, and we have to appreciate and understand as to how they go. Central government, state government, different accreditation agencies like NAC and NBA, and different statutory bodies like AICT, MHRD, UGC, MCI, DCI, PCI, NCTE, NCI prescribe norms for effective functioning of higher education institutions and university in particular. Now you can see here also we have a lot of plurality. And the plurality is felt when you realize that within one university, all these agencies come. They all have some impact of all the other on the institution that we run. So naturally, this plurality of a lot of accreditation agencies and statutory bodies and regulatory bodies, they create a lot of plurality of systems of education that are forced on any university or college. And that is where probably we have to start thinking right now. NAC is also thinking now to reduce their ranking systems or improve the ranking systems, and also coordinate with NIRF and NBA so as to be on the same platform or the same kind of a nature. That is the task that is going on, and that is probably will be very important issue for for us in near future. This is the phase that has started now, and in next 2-3 years you will find the impact of this. Don't hesitate in giving suggestions to all of these bodies if you have one, because if you hesitate today, tomorrow you will be a victim of the same situation. Next slide, please. Now coming to intrinsic government, this is also very important. Following hierarchy in any university's college system normally constitutes intrinsic governance. Like we have an academic system where there is a vice chancellor, there is a pro vice chancellor, there is a dean, there are HODs. In case of colleges, they are principals or directors and whatever you call them. These are academic heads of governance. Then comes the administrative heads of government who have administrative powers to run. Vice chancellors, pro vice chancellors, registrars, finance officers, controller of examination, principal, chief librarian, dean student welfare, chief proctor, chief warden, and with their respective subordinate staffs. So you have a lot of administrative actions going on in the university. And most of the central universities have, these are under the control of the academic people. So they have a duplicity or triplicity of role, multiplicity of role to perform in the university systems, where they double with the other assignments as well. I'm not saying that they are burdened with that or they find it troublesome, but one thing I will definitely like to say is that the state university system is not same as in the central government systems, and there was a different set of problems because the registrars, finance officers, and controller of examinations come from government. And in many situations, like in Haryana, in some other states, the pro vice chancellors are appointed by the chancellor, that is the governor, so as the vice chancellor. So the two are appointed by the same authority in the systems, and there too there are a lot of issues going on at the state level. So you have a lot of need to appreciate the point that we have the duplicity, multiplicity, triplicity of situations, of people, of structure, of superstructure, that is hindering the way we have to serve the people of this country in the near future. Intrinsic governance, administrative bodies, and different cells are different levels of governance in universities. Now, these are different layers where people have to work. 30 years back, 40 years back, 50 years back, there was a lot of clarity with regard to this. But now at the state level, at least I can say that there is a lot of blurring of ideas and a lot of overlapping is going on these days in among these three different layers of education or levels of governance in the universities. And that is the problem area right now. Now, transparency, effectiveness, quest for excellence, succession planning, and adherence to rules and regulations. These are the main features of good governance. That is something that we wanted to talk about. Transparency, effectiveness, quest for excellence, succession planning, and adherence to rules and regulations. These are the features of good governance, and there we need to evolve our own systems. I'm saying it, find it, evolve your own system. Every university needs to evolve its own system of transparency and effectiveness and quest for excellence and succession planning and adherence to rules, because you two of you cannot have the similar kind of functioning purposes and nature and objectives and controls. The two of you cannot have the same type of people to serve. So according to the people, according to the structures, according to the access, according to geography, according to geopolitics, everything, you need to evolve your own systems of good governance on and within these headings. To ensure the quality governance, well thought out vision and mission statement, devoted leadership, and quality checking is something that we all desire. Next slide, please. For gauging education governance, performance indicators based on 4 pillars need to be in place. Now, this is where I want all my colleagues to seriously ponder over this. We need to have all these following these 4 pillars: the standards, the incentives, the information, and the accountability. They need to understand that these are the performance indicators based on 4 pillars, and we need to and explain them, understand them very clearly so as to evolve a system that we can be so proud of in the near future. Next slide explains this, these terms. Standard means transparent and publicly recognized criteria or benchmarks which inform education policy, provision, and performance. We need to have some kind of the 2 words understand: transparent and publicly recognized criteria or benchmarks which inform education policy, provision, and performance. No ambiguity will serve your purpose. Standards need to be set. You need to evolve the codes, and you need to tell people that these are the codes on which you have to function and work. We need not have a very strict kind of examination mechanism, but if we do not have an examination mechanism, what is the assessment method should be known to them. So that is something where we need to understand that in our traditional education system, your ability to do will decide whether you have understood or not. Your ability to understand and write is not something that we look forward to. Your doing capacity or doing capability is something that sets the standards. So each student of my university is able to do this is something that the standards can be settled. Incentives means financial or non-financial factors that motivate a specific type of behavior or action, or can be positive or negative, that is encourage a certain behavior or deter it. This is a real serious problems in modern day world. But India is no exception to it. If you read NEP very carefully, one of the last sentences that they have given, the core sentence of the NEP, is that the government of India will have to think in terms of spending at least 6% of the GDP on education. If they don't spend 6% of GDP on education, nothing can change substantially. Substantial change is possible only when we are able to change or able to invest heavily on education. Third term is information in the form of clear definitions of outputs and outcomes combined with accurate data on performance and results collected at regular intervals enables sanctions to be imposed when specified standards are not met. Now, this is what we in public administration also call it the pool of information or the common bank of information that needs to be clearly settled, very clearly settled. If there is ambiguity with regard to understanding of the definitions and outputs and outcomes, then your expectation from students and students' expectation from you will be at the varying level. So we need to have a clear definitions, clear outputs, clear outcomes, clear standards, clear codes available to each one of the stakeholders that is available in the university system, so that when you reward, award, or punish, there should be no dissatisfaction with that, because you know that. Those of you who follow cricket these days, you must understand that sometimes you hear that they said this is level 1 of the offense, which incurs this much of penalty. So you settle the level and you have the incurring penalty available. So everything should be clear to the stakeholders, 3 stakeholders at least, the teachers, the students, and of course, the guardians. Accountability refers to the act of holding public officials, service providers answerable for processes and outcomes, and imposing sanctions if specified outputs and outcomes are not delivered. This is accountability. You are accountable for something that you do or you don't do. So then coming to now the road ahead, I would say the road ahead is, this is where our fraternity can do a lot. We have to conceptualize a legal foundation for a new model of an autonomous institution, because we don't have it. So we need to evolve a new model for autonomous institutions to serve a public purpose. The model should be same for institutions funded in part by government as well as those receiving no government subsidy, because we are trying to create a legal foundation. If the legal foundation is clear, our educational systems and standards will be clearer. Transition all government funded to government aided to private non-aided through this model. Every institution should come to this legal model, foundation model of an autonomous institution, whether it is managed publicly or privately, so that we come to a same kind of a good governance model. Common legal framework for governance consistent with the new model of autonomous institution, which provides clear statements of responsibility and relationship for the board of governors, or we call it executive council and all, including composition and of course the professional qualification or experience and responsibilities and appointments of vice chancellors or directors or senior institutional officials, including the terms and conditions of service and the minimum standard set and all that. This should all be clear, and this should all be similar for the entire model of this work. We cannot have a varying systems for induction of leadership into the model. Next, strategic planning at institutional and state levels to ensure alignment with national and state priorities for India's global competitiveness in the knowledge economy. We know that the size, shape, relationship, access, equity, affordability, quality research competitiveness, inclusiveness, and responsiveness to the need of industry and India's future economy. This is all something that we need to align our institutions with this. You can understand that the amount of work we have tried to create equity is less than what we desire to. Inclusiveness is also something which is a good challenge so far. All this, and industrial response to education and educational response to industry is something is still debated upon. We need to work on the situation where all these are aligned on the same platform or the same plane, so that the education systems, whatever outcomes it creates, whatever quality outputs that it gives, is able to be absorbed by the society in different roles and different pressures, different groups and different levels. And the society remains inclusive, society remains equitable, and society remains a model of good governance. Next slide. We also need to have a common quality assurance policies and standards, like the accepted parameters to meet the needs of industry. We have no policy right now where industria and academia move hand in hand. Many countries like Korea, they have adopted a wonderful model where both of them develop, grow together. And that model is working. Common framework for qualifications, specifying the knowledge and skills required for employment to establish credible national standards. Curriculum frameworks or subject benchmarks to guide curriculum development. Student assessment and continuous quality improvement within institutions. Assessment and certification of skills and competencies obtained through industry-based training and experience for partial credit towards degrees. Quality assurance and accountability based on outcomes at various levels, institutional, state level or central level. All three levels have to be conscious of quality assurance and accountability. Policies and mechanisms for students' mobility, including credit transfer within and between institutions and states and outside India. This has been worked upon. Framework for faculty appraisal or faculty development scheme, including training needs analysis and funding. Of course, salary is not withstanding, of course, it has to be thought about. Next. We have to think in terms of policies and formal mechanisms for industry or academic collaboration, including but not limited to, say, industry investment in higher education. This is what I was talking about. Germany, France, Korea, Spain, Italy, they all have heavy, Israel, industry investment in higher education. This actually may need national incentives or support itself. Experts from private industry serving as faculty and researchers at institutions and faculty serving in industry. Industry providing training for students and awarding credit for industry-based training. What is important is that at the current system, if there is the education system or higher education system and industrial mechanisms, they are divorced from each other. The approach of both of them remains skeptical on each other. Industry says, you have not prepared the students enough for our use. And university says, have you invested in our systems and have you told us what you expect us to do? Such roles need to be worked upon. Some models are there in the systems. We need to incorporate more of these models to take the benefit of both sectors and to provide an opportunity for both to crisscross in this, to shift from industry to academia or academia to industry. Professional development for faculty or institution leaders and boards of governors to increase their capacity to assume increased responsibilities in autonomous institutions, like quality assurance, curriculum development, and so on and so forth. There are a lot of things that need to be understood by both the faculty members, the institutional leaders, and the board of governors. They all have to understand this. We also need to understand appreciation workshops for non-teaching employees. Appreciation workshop for non-teaching employees and students in understanding the values, usefulness, and system of NEP in order to implement it and take maximum benefit of the new flexible provisions for the students. Both, this is especially a point that I have added to, I've given it to UGC as well as NCICT. that half of the administrative work is done by non-teaching employees, and the choice has to be made for by the students. Both these stakeholders need to be educated in NEP as to how to explain to the students, and for students how to take the maximum benefit of the provisions that have come up in NEP. The flexible provisions of obtaining your credits from different sources, of going to MOOCs or conventional or open system. All this need to be understood for students. So these are very important workshops that we need to organize. Optimum utilization of resources, including but not limited to sharing of faculty and other resources among institutions. Use of technology for effective delivery of courses and to support support research. I have suggested to my state that we need to create clusters of colleges. I understand that self-financing colleges may not be able to create all the laboratories of the same class that is expected from them, but together they can pool their resources, faculty resources, laboratory resources, library resources, to create that hub where the students are benefited of quality of education. That is something that needs to be worked upon. Also, use of technology for effective delivery of courses and to support research. Technologically, we have to be very sensitive now. A country of India's size cannot be physically accessed. We have to use appropriate and effective technological solutions. We also need to talk about cultural development of students. Mind it, it is very important for Indian students. India is anything but culture. India's culture is something that is our identity. So students should be able to understand that by having only a generalized kind of education devoid of your own culture will not assure a very good prospects for your future. Cultural sensitiveness is very important, not only for your own country, for the entire world. You need to understand that. So cultural development of students, something that I wish that which is talked about. Creating various clubs for creating creative thinking and understanding implementational tools. As many clubs as you can have. These are, we call it, thinking groups of students, where they can think in terms of one group, maybe 4 or 5 of them, maybe 10 of them, maybe 20 of them, maybe more, but they are able to create ideas and implement them. This is some kind of an incubation cell, but this is the efforts of the students. We should allow them to start creative thinking and understanding implementational tools, so that they are not hesitant of using good technology in future and create. And of course, that we should also appreciate the fact that technology is not something that is related to money only, that the rich students will have access and that poor students do not have access. Idea of creative thinking can come up in any mind, and therefore we must appreciate and realize that these clubs are very important for the overall development and growth of the students. Presence of a meaningful and vibrant student council is also very important from the governance point of view. It is not to be, or should not be seen as something which is anti-administration, but it is for administration, for implementation of your ideas. It is for you to make use of these, and of course, formation of alumni council and its effective role. Each university has a role to play in creating alumni support. My guru used to tell me that there are 3 words that explain your relationship with your institutions, and those 3 words were learn, earn, return. So once you learn from a college, you earn your livelihoods. It's time for you to return as an alumni to the college by way of ideas, by way of some support, by way of hand-holding of the next generation of students. And of course, if you are well enough, you can also give some financial support to the institution. Next slide, please. So you have to think in terms of restructuring the institutional bodies. This is something that we start seriously thinking in terms of having a very stale system of university senate and executive council, which is not working very well with the changing times now. We need to create more of vibrant and inclusive kind of a councils. Say, for example, Pandit Deen Dayal Upadhyay Petroleum University, which is created by the government, but run by the private system. Chairman of that executive council, or what you call as BOG, is Mukesh Ambani. So they have involved private sector players into the functioning of the university so that they take the benefit of both the worlds. So that is something that we need to work upon as to how to revise our restructure our institutional bodies to involve more of people support, more of social support, more of cultural support from the society to run the university systems. We also need to revise in terms of college board of management, university courts, school code, of course, in the state university courts are anything but functional, but unnecessarily they are existing at the moment. They need to be thoroughly revised. Student union or council need to be created, as I mentioned in the last slide. Various committees of university and colleges need to be, recreated, restructured so that they all on the same size. We unnecessarily created binaries in past. We thought that either if you are not with me, you are against me. It is not so. We have to understand that the thinking process of individuals or the groups of different stakeholders can be different. So difference is not opposition. We must understand that committees of colleges and university teachers or employees or students, they all wish to work for the system rather than against the system. The only thing is that the top has to understand that these are all viewpoints which are very important, and the views create a good, healthy environment where thinking start taking shape, discussions start taking shape, and then of course innovation and a lot of good quality management takes place. Next slide, please. In the last 2-3 slides, I would just mention as to where we want the students to go. And students cannot go on their own. They will go only when we are willing to go. Current system is that, what is the learner autonomy at the moment? Learner autonomy is at the bottom right now. In the first slide, first picture you can see. We take classes, we tell them what to do, and they do it. If they do it, they pass with good marks. If they don't do it, they don't pass with good marks. What we need to go to is that, we call it andragogy, which is the globe is not talking about. A fair amount of participation of the students, autonomy of the learner is increased, so that there is a huge amount of participation and the views are shared. But what we need to go is to the third stage, what we call as heutagogy. Heutagogy is something which is where the learner demands are met by the faculty members. Learner is something which is totally autonomous, now nearly autonomous. He has a lot of what we call as in Indian system, they have done a self-understanding of self-learning or self-studies. They have a lot of questions to answer. Those questions are answered by the faculty, and the autonomy of the heutagogy learner is on the top. That is the system that we need to create and evolve now with a lot of course, caution, and you need to understand that this caution is very important. I've tried to explain it in the next slide as to what is the relationship in the 3 terms that I have used: pedagogy, andragogy, and heutagogy. You can see the questions that we need in pedagogy is that what? You tell us what to do, we do it. In andragogy, there's a little more question is called why. You need to answer as to why this is happening. So a little more interaction and understanding of that. But what we need to reach is that why not? Why not is the level where we need to reach. Swami Vivekananda will ask this question, why not? So we need to appreciate that the Indian students have to move from pedagogy to heutagogy in the shortest possible time. And if they start moving there, as in this particular bracket, we will have a lot of good quality education system or education coming to us. Teachers have to be ready for this. They have to be prepared for this. They may have to be exposed to the scenarios, possible scenarios for this kind of a body of learners. And once we create this, 25 years later, we will be in a better position in the world than what we are right now. Heutagogy is something which is not practiced even in the best of the universities now. Andragogy is something which has settled in, but we need to move to third level and move as quickly as possible. but it doesn't need to be implemented through some government orders or gadgets. We need to prepare for this, and learners have to be encouraged to move to that level. And once we reach that level, we have done the job of we have actually reduced our jobs. The learner is autonomous, then the teachers are super autonomous. Last slide, please. Now, this is, I've tried to explain as to what this pedagogy would be all about. It is a self-determined learning. The learner should be able to determine as to what he wants to learn. Facilitators are the teachers, what we call as teachers, or the gurus will be the facilitators. Because this, once he learns this, once he's able to, understand what he wanted to learn has been unlearned, he is a man who will not seek a job from any company, but he will be determined to learn. He has learned something, he will do something. Look beyond our own disciplines and favorites. The composite comprehensive learning is very important. We believe that the chemistry has nothing to do with sociology, but I believe that they are absolutely intertwined. When Tata and Vivekananda discussed science and society, they were discussing science for whom. If science serves no purpose or solves no problems of the society, is it meaningful? So therefore, the understanding of different disciplines and favorites is something that Hikonogi is talking about. It provides opportunity for students to explore and learn from self-chosen and self-directed action. Avoidance of teacher-centered learning. Teachers are only facilitators. I have a question, please answer. If you answer that question, your job is finished. I will have a further set of questions in my mind and I'll try and find answers. The moment I'm stuck somewhere, I will come and discuss with the teacher. Teachers have to think about process rather than content. How to do this is important rather than what to do it. Move into the world of learner. Both of them, even the teachers have to understand that they have not learnt. They are also in the process of learning. Sahana bhavat sahana bhunakt sahaviryam karvave. Let us move together. Let us read together. Let us understand together, and let us understand together for the welfare of the world. That is the whole idea, and that of the learning that we need to have, a permanent learning kind of a situation where pedagogy is very important role to play. Move into the world of the learner. That is important, and then knowledge-based future where knowing how to learn is a fundamental skill. That is something where we need to, this is the highest level of learning as to how to learn. If we have understood how to learn, we will learn the moment we want to learn, the way we want to learn. The more we know, the more we learn. These questions at that time of highest level of learning are the very simple questions. And the simpler questions need very complicated answers. And therefore, we need to have a knowledge-based future where how to learn is something which is established in the minds of the students. And once they have this established in their minds, I think our problems are solved. We have become teachers who are facilitators. We are the teachers who believe or who are capable of what we know as traditionally system. We know that the knowledge is inside you. Teacher has to help you come outside. So the moment we are capable of becoming those teachers who help the students to create their knowledge from inside out, we have done the job. And that is something where good governance practices need to be focused on. We need to be participative, we need to be transparent, we need to be common sharing of ideas and goals and common sharing of information so as to facilitate our future generation to become learners, thinkers, doers themselves, rather than remain dependent on us for all kind of explanations. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. This is what I had to present to you. And for any questions and queries, we have 10 odd minutes for us to discuss the questions that may have struck our mind. Bharati, all up to you.
Dear participants, any question if you are having, just put it in chat box. So far, we have not received any questions for sir.
That means either they have not understood anything or they have got slides
Got
ready.
everything. So better we assume if they got everything.
Yeah, some messages coming. All right, not the questions, but they are
Not
basically.
questions, sir. Only for praising your presentation only, sir.
Thank you very much, all of you. Even if later on you have any questions and queries, you can request your coordinator to send them to me, and I'll be very happy to answer those questions if there are any. Thank you very much, Parthendra ji, and thank you very much all the participants.
Sir, good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon. Arey Manoj ji, kya haal hai?
Thank you, sir. Just I landed in Aizol, like that. That's why I was in flight. That's why I could not attend. So very happy to see you. Finally, in last moment, sir.
Not last moment.
Means lecture last moment. Now, sir, lecture is going to over. So, sir, thank you so much, sir, for giving your valuable time and have your lecture. Okay, so I think Bhatindu, sir, you may conclude the lecture.
Okay. So, sir, thanks for sparing your valuable time for giving us very thoughtful presentation on governance. Good governance. Sometimes also I feel, sir, governance should be good only. Why to call it good governance? It should be good only. So you talked about governance. So thank you for your very nice presentation. And on behalf of all the participants and on behalf of HRDC, I would like to say thanks to you, sir. In
Thank
future
you.
also, sir, earlier also
Yeah.
you had been associated with us. In future also, we hope that this journey will continue, sir. Thank you, sir, for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, so friends, we'll wait for a little more time for the next presenter to join. Just 2-3 more minutes are there, so be here and